Since ancient times there has been a prophecy. At the sign of the eye and the ear and some kind of joystick, I guess, it has been said that there will come two queer trans ladies who will discuss these things in depth. Others have spoken of their good humor, the voices they can perform, and the entertainment that they do. It is said in the legends of the queer and pleasant strangers.
Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. Two queer trans ladies talk about the media we've consumed in the week and have a catch-up and do silly voices and skits and whatnot. How you doing?
It's daytime.
It's daytime. This isn't Quip's time.
No, this is not Quip's time.
No, this week's a weird week. My schedule's all over the place.
You got a...
I got a book launching. During what would have been Quip's recording time last night, I was on IGN's podcast Beyond.
Self-promoting.
Yeah, I didn't really want to do, I had a work meeting, and then it would have been Quip's right into a podcast, right into another podcast. I don't have it in me to do 3 podcasts back to back. That's too many podcasts.
That's not what the old Laura would have said.
I mean,
a decade ago.
I'll say this. Had you not been, off work today, I'd have totally done those podcasts back to back. But if the option is there for me to have, sleep, then I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's... Off. You say off. I just had different work today.
Well, yes, but I mean, you stuff that
Things
you
could be
control the
shifted
schedule
around.
of. Yeah,
Indeed.
exactly. So you did what would have been Wednesday last night, and yeah, we're doing it's a different energy recording this show in the daytime, isn't it?
Yeah, people might hear us out the window, which is always open.
Oh no, you might hear that we've played some games, because that's what we start the show with, is things we've played.
Want to talk about things we've played?
Yeah, what should we talk about first?
Should we talk about the big scary game?
Yeah, the thing that we binge played over last weekend. Yeah, we played The Medium this week.
We did.
Yeah, that is an interesting horror game. Caveats. So, should we talk about what this is first before we get into opinions?
Yeah.
It's like an 8-hour-long horror game where you play as a character who can
It's a medium.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
Who can simultaneously experience, the physical world and the spirity ghost world.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I like the core central mechanic of it, of at points in the game, the world will be split in two, and on screen you'll be able to see 2 different worlds at once, and you might have to interact with them both back and forth. I think that mechanic works quite well. Shall I redo that sentence? Yeah, the core mechanic of the game, where sometimes the screen will split in 2, and you'll be able to see both the spirit and the physical world at once and interact with them back and forth.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
Apparently they've patented that, so no one else can use it.
I mean, there are other games that already do similar things. I think they'll find a way around it. It reminded me a bit of playing through A Way Out, which is that co-op game where you were doing different things on a split screen, playing through the same story.
Split screen co-op.
Yeah, except you're controlling, you're doing the same inputs on both screens simultaneously.
Yeah. I guess you just tie the player controls to 2 different models.
Exactly. But yeah, I liked a lot of the puzzle stuff with it.
Yeah, there's some fascinating key and lock puzzles in that game.
Yeah, I think it helped having 2 of us playing it together, because both of us did the same thing, where we kept gravitating to solely looking at the spirit world because it was more interesting, and missing important stuff we needed to spot in the other one.
Yep.
So when we were playing it co-op, we were handing the controller back and forth, and whoever wasn't playing was just you just keep an eye on the physical world and look out for any sparklies I've missed.
To be fair, when not playing, I found it much easier to look at both screens at once.
Yes.
But when actually playing, it's I gravitated towards either watching very specifically and usually very specifically the spirit world.
Yeah, agreed.
But, or the normal world.
Yeah, and the way that it worked was that if there was a difference between the spirit and the physical world, let's say there was a doorway that existed in the physical world but not in the spirit world, typically you can't go through it in the spirit world because your physical body can't go that way because there's a door in the way, for example.
You can have an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, I like the out-of-body experience mechanic.
Yeah.
You could send your spirit body off to go do things by itself, but you had a limited time limit, and the body would sort of
melt.
Yeah, you sort of like thinned out as you were traveling through alone, which I thought worked really well.
Yeah, you sort of seem to dissipate in
Yeah,
there.
and then you've got some sort of supernatural abilities in the spirit realm, like creating sort of a big bubble shield around yourself
Keeps the
and
moths off.
doing some sort of energy blasts,
Mm.
and I enjoyed mechanically the process of playing through it.
Yeah. It was a cool world. I liked the world design.
Yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of the puzzles. Wasn't super keen on the whole being chased by the big bad thing. The more
See, I liked being chased by the big bad.
you were good at it.
Yeah, so there is a big spooky monster at some points that like one hit kills you if it gets you, and it is very much about like sneaking, holding your breath, getting around it, and then if it notices you, run like fuck and try and find some light to be safe from it. I enjoyed those, but I can see how they could be really frustrating if you weren't getting on well with them.
Yeah. And then there's the story.
Yeah, so I have had really, like, back and forth mixed feelings about the story of this game.
I didn't get bits of it until I was reading other people sort of going, here
Yeah.
it is all written down in one big line. It was like,
Yeah.
oh dear.
Yeah, a lot of it I was experiencing as, like, individual, unconnected, like, I'm going through this building, experiencing the stories of the many people who are here, and it wasn't until someone pointed out, here is the through line that connects those stories that I really was like,
That's very problematic.
Yeah, it's... I like a lot of, like, the acting and performances. I like a lot of the characters. The problem is that there is this... I think it's not too spoilery to say there is a current running through this of horrible things beget other horrible things that has some kind of iffy implications on some of the specifics of where that chain goes. I think that's fair to say.
I think there's the least spoilery version of that you could have done, yes.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because, like, I liked a lot of the moment-to-moment bits of, like, the tension building and the world building and the individual character building.
Yeah. There was apparently a scene in that I did not understand what was going on. I thought it was just a fight. It was not just a fight.
Yeah, I interpreted it as just a fight, and apparently it's not just a fight.
Nope.
Yeah. One of the characters who's shown off briefly in the trailers is a little girl called Sadness, little spirit world girl. And I will say, I think she was one of the highlights of that game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Her performance was really well done.
Yep. Amazing character design there.
Yep. Did a really good job of adding some levity to scenes and, like, adding tension where needed. She was a very good vehicle for moving that story forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I liked stuff like, I like the character design on her. I like the fact that she had the sort of mycelial effect going on.
Holding her arms on?
Yeah,
on.
Yeah, the sort of the webbing underneath a mushroom effect going on.
Yeah, it's got like the arm and the legs, sort of where they're held on, has got a real sort of mycelial look. I think that's a very good description of it. But also there's, like, most characters who interact with the spirit world have this sort of coral effect, usually around the shoulder. Like Sadness has got it. Is it Marianne?
Yeah.
She's got, like, one sleeve of the jacket has got this real sort of ruffled look to it that's sort of vaguely corally.
I also really enjoy, like, I recognise that this was probably done to save on facial animation to keep the budget on the game down, but I like the fact that a lot of the characters you interact with in the spirit world have those sort of
Death masks.
Yeah, the death mask look going on.
Yeah, I thought that was a great design. I don't know if that was specifically because they're generally dead characters, but
yeah, I thought that, like, the game does a good job of drip feeding you story and sort of layering the mystery and pacing when it does its reveals. It's just a shame that it has some kind of shitty attitudes towards
abuse survivors?
abuse survivors. which is like, yeah, it's
And apparently this is not the first time Bloober Team's done this. I've
Yeah.
not played many of their games,
So,
so...
Bloober Team are an indie developer in Poland, and the quality and tastefulness of their games fluctuates wildly. I went and visited Bloober Team's offices like 6 or 7 years ago for Destructoid to play a terrible knockoff Bomberman game they'd made.
Set in Poland.
Set in Poland, because everything they make is set in Poland to get those Polish government bucks that you see you see all their thank yous for at the end of the credits. But yeah. Bloober Team are based in Poland, and sometimes certain issues with where Poland is in terms of representation of certain groups or attitudes seep through into their work a little. I think that's fair to say. They are not necessarily always great at being tactful. Additionally, the fucking content warning thing is useless in that game.
I get that they don't want to do spoilers, but I'm more and more I'm starting to feel like there needs to be a, hey, there are things that you might be triggered by in this game. Do you want to just do you want to just come over here a minute and we will show you the list?
This is the thing. Like, so many people go, oh, I don't want a content warning screen that tells me what the things will be in the game, because then it's a spoiler. And I'm like, yes, but the solution is so simple. It's just, hey, this game has some upsetting themes. Click this button if you would like to see the things that might be difficult for you in this piece of work. If not, skip past.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a simple 2 pages of text fix that is really simple to do, and not enough developers get on board with it. This game just generically is like, this game is made from a diverse group of people, and it tries to be scary in a wide variety of ways that might be upsetting, so content warning for nebulous upsetting content. It does nothing to help to say a horror game might contain stuff that might upset you. It's like, yeah, it's a horror game. I want to know what stuff is in there.
Yeah, exactly. It fails at that. It is a bad trigger. It might as well not be there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree it might as well not be there.
Because I think most people who go, I'm playing a horror game, will go, okay, there's probably going to be something that might be triggering in here for some people.
Yeah. Like, it tells you nothing.
No, nothing else.
Like, I enjoy the fact that the game was the length it was. I liked a lot of it. Did a good job of tone setting. Can I just say, I love when I picked up the shoe at the start. This isn't a major spoiler. One of the first objects in the game you can sort of investigate for supernatural things is a shoe, and you supernaturally investigate it, and it just 1,000 people start screaming at you from this shoe. And that was amazing. That was great. Like, there are points in this game I like, but just go in knowing that it has some kind of shitty attitudes.
I like that it kept the HUD is non-existent. Really.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of some of the stuff that, say, Focus Home Interactive make, in that it at times manages to get things really, really right in terms of its tone and its setting, but it just has this sort of nebulous layer of not quite perfect that sort of permeates under the surface.
Oopsie doodle.
Yeah. Should we talk about the other big thing we've played?
The other big scary
that
game.
was scary.
Really big scary
it wasn't scary tonally, but it was scary to try and play.
So we spent. I was very kindly gifted a copy of War of the Ring, which is the Lord of the Rings board game by Nix. Thank you, I love you. It's huge. It's got 2 4-part fold-out boards.
It's a bit intimidating.
Hundreds of minis.
Yes, you've got like 120 minis per player, split into like 5 armies each, and then you've got hundreds of spaces on the board you got to find where
Dice
things go.
Decks of cards each.
Yeah, we watched like 3 hours of videos about that game before we even fucking touched the board.
Yeah, I had watched maybe an hour and a half of videos, and I'd watched some of those twice before we sat down on that Saturday morning, and I went, okay, these are the videos I think we need to watch.
Yeah, so
And there
we
was a 4-part series by Harsh Rules,
Yeah.
who lay all the mechanics out very well, but we still had to sit there going, okay, I have a question, let's rifle through the manual. You have a
Yes.
question, let's rifle through the manual. And I think that certainly worked best for us.
yeah, we it wasn't nearly as bad as it seemed once we got into it because we did
It's
the
another one
legwork.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an asymmetrical war game set in the Lord of the Rings. One half plays
Shadow.
the shadow, the evil spooky
Sauron's forces.
Sauron types, and then you've got the Fellowship going
Free
off and
peoples.
trying to rally the peoples to war and maybe get the ring to Mount Doom.
Yeah, so it's set in the Third Age, which means that basically everyone's kind of forgotten about Sauron. We defeated him ages ago, it's
Yeah.
fine. He's got no ring.
The elves are like, I mean, we remember it, but we don't reckon it's going to happen again.
To be fair, the only reason the elves start activated at the beginning of the game is because the Fellowship starts there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a huge game. And then I think we spent, 4.5 hours actually playing it?
Yeah, we spent about 4 hours playing our first game.
It was interesting. I kept taking, photographs of the board to, share on Facebook going,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is so intimidating. And I realised that there are whole swathes of that board that never got touched.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different win conditions, and there's some major differences in the way the two sides play. But basically, if you want to fight over a territory, there are dice rolls that you can do to try and do damage to an opposing force. If you've got special higher up units with you, they might give you special abilities or rerolls and things to try and help those dice happen.
Mm-hmm.
The Shadow, you've got basically infinite troops you can throw out. The benefit to you is you can play really aggressively because any of your units that are destroyed can be brought back out onto the board. Whereas the Fellowship,
There's only so many of the mortal races.
yeah, rather than ours don't go back in the pool to summon out again later, they go in the box and they're gone forever.
You never ran out, though.
To
To be fair, I wasn't being very aggressive.
You weren't being as aggressive as you needed to, I think.
No.
But yeah. So
Spoiler, I lost.
you weren't far off.
Only because I got really aggressive in, the last two
Again,
turns.
I think if you'd gotten more aggressive earlier, I think you'd have got it. But yeah. So the Shadow have the benefit of they can play really aggressively because they have just infinite troops to throw at trying to get a military victory.
Yeah, but they have to earn more points to get that military victory.
Yeah. And then on the other side, the Fellowship can go for a military victory, but it's more difficult for them to do because they are a much squishier army.
They only need 4 points, but the places that they can attack that belong to the forces of darkness. I mean, theoretically, you've got those 2 strongholds way at the top of the board, like Angmar, around that area.
Yeah.
And then you've got, I suppose, Isengard, as long as that doesn't get too heavily fortified early on. Theoretically, if you really hit those places
Yeah.
very hard with big armies that would take a while to summon,
Yeah.
you might get that military victory.
Yeah. But the other condition is that they can send the...
Get the ring to Mount Doom.
Yeah, the Ring to Mount Doom, which is basically a hidden roll game. That you're basically
Hidden
running
movement.
against, running against the clock to not get overwhelmed by the Shadow's military victory.
Or corrupted.
Yeah. So basically, you roll dice to try and each of the dice that you have has options of what you can do. That would be things like move an army, do an
a
attack,
character.
use special ability cards that you get every turn, and one of them you can use to move the Fellowship. But every time you move them, you have to do a dice roll and maybe get corrupted by the ring. And over time, you'll sometimes... I like that you don't have to display your route that the Fellowship's following as you're doing it. It's only... Let's say you made 4 moves in a row before you got revealed by Sauron's forces.
Or you chose to reveal yourself.
Or you chose to reveal yourself. You then go, okay, I've moved 4 spaces since I was last visible. That's when you pick your route, which means that you can sort of be a bit flexible about where you go, which I really like. And you can shed off parts of the Fellowship as you go to, basically to go do other things and to give you benefits elsewhere in battle, but also to make yourself less at risk when you climb Mount Doom.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of it, I was just like, let characters die, throw them over there, get them out of the party, get the fuck away from me, everyone.
Good. You left Merry and Pippin in the Brown Lands.
They were fine.
To be fair, they were fine.
They were fine. They both have abilities that mean that they'll probably be fine.
Probably fine.
Yeah. And there's some characters, like, in the Fellowship you might want to deliberately die early, like Gandalf. You can get Gandalf the Grey to become Gandalf the White if you let them get killed off early.
How quickly are you going to kill that Gandalf off?
I mean, pretty quickly.
Yeah, because if you leave him in Fangorn, you can keep summoning those Ents if they come out.
Exactly. And because you kind of want to have as few people as possible when you get to Mount Doom, just let your friends die to save you from taking corruption.
just... Yeah, we're just gonna... Legolas, we're just gonna boot you into Gorgoroth. Bye!
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 The event decks were fun in this.
Yes. So you have 2 decks. One is mostly character stuff, and one is mostly like... It's an event of an event, I guess.
Yeah.
So you might have things like for the Dark Powers, one of the cards I had was Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah.
So I could, if Saruman was already out and in Orthanc, I could basically stop the Rohirrim from entering the war until such time as that came up. Unfortunately, the Rohirrim were already in the war at that point.
Yeah, which didn't help.
Yeah.
On my side there was like a Tom Bombadil card that protected certain regions of the map.
The Shire, Buckland, and the Old Forest.
Basically somewhere that you were never going to go anyway, but
thematically appropriate.
Thematically it was nice, like Tom's just looking out for that corner.
Well, plus if I had, decided to, summon a bunch of troops in Angmar and then, bring them down, that probably would have been a good place for me to start, because you didn't have many troops.
Yeah, exactly.
Start with any troops for the Northmen, and you barely touched that whole. Barely touched your Northmen.
Yeah, this is a real nice game. I don't usually enjoy war games. I'll usually play them once and be like, this was too much angry strategizing and luck of rolls and.
Yeah.
There
is some dice rolling.
Yeah.
But you can mitigate that.
Yeah, this is the most I think I've ever enjoyed, this kind of war game.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play a lot of Risk.
Yeah.
When I was living in a very particular flat. And, I mean, it was a way to pass the time, because I couldn't afford video games. So, the fact that I had this one housemate was like, we're playing Risk today. Okay. We're going to listen to Weezer's The Blue Album on repeat. Okay. But there was just one day when I had this huge frickin' army against 2 people holding up one landmass, and I rolled every single dice came up badly. So I basically lost an entire army throwing it at these 2 people, of which I killed 1. And I was like, fuck this game. Never touching it again. Bye.
But yeah, I feel like we both learnt a lot from that first game of playing through it. I think
almost as soon as we finished, we were like, I would like to play this again. Not today. Don't have time.
When we've got time, definitely not this week probably, but when we've got time, I really want to play this again.
Yeah.
That's a good meaty game.
Yeah, now that I think we've got sort of the hang of the basic rules, and we've seen a playthrough of what sort of things can come up in your card on your cards, you can sort of strategize around that.
Yes.
I imagine you might do some slightly different things around moving the Fellowship, maybe.
Mayhaps.
Maybe I would certainly be more aggressive as the Dark Powers.
Yeah, I imagine you would.
Had some thoughts about that scheme.
Oh no!
Oh yes. Yeah, that is a game that has 3 expansions for it. And I'm like, no.
The base game is already terrifying enough.
Well, and what have you played? Anything else?
I played a little bit of Control Ultimate Edition on PS5.
It's still Control.
I mean, it's still Control basically. Look, this is everything I expected a PlayStation 5 port of Control to be. It looks very nice. You have to choose between your ray tracing fancy visuals or your 60 frames a second. As I always do with PS5 games, I start doing the fancy visuals version, and about half an hour in, I'm like, yeah, but what about that frame rate though? And I switch to frame rate and I never switch back.
To be fair, I don't think ray tracing is impressive enough that it's worth it yet.
If you have the option of both, I'll definitely take both. Miles Morales Spider-Man got an update so you can have both now, and it undeniably looks a lot better as a result. But ray tracing never looks good enough to make me feel like it looks better than doubling the frame rate.
Yeah, I mean, I turned it on when I downloaded, I think it was Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Because when I got the new PC, it was one of the first things I did was like, okay, gonna set up, play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and looked at it and just went, aware?
Yeah. Like, Miles Morales Spider-Man is a good example game to look at because it does a lot of stuff with, like, some of the late game suits you can unlock have really nice reflections and lighting and lens flare and, like, lots of really cool effects, and there's lots of very shiny, like, glass buildings.
Yeah.
There's a lot in that game that really shows off the best of what ray tracing can do, but I've never been a frame rate snob. I love Age of Calamity despite its abysmal frame rate.
To be fair, I barely noticed.
Yeah,
but I was playing it in handheld.
But like, I've become a bit of a sucker for 60 frames a second this generation. I've been spoiled, and that's the thing. I care more about the fact that like this generation of console games is probably going to have every game run at a stable 60 frames a second. I care more about that than 4K or ray tracing. It's made a more noticeable difference to my enjoyment of games.
Yeah, I'm certainly noticing FPS more and FOVs.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the game was recently. I was like, oh, I'll set the FOV a bit wider, and I'll be like, I like this.
Yeah.
Also, weirdly, now I seem to be able to control FPS games with a joypad, which I was never previously able to manage.
Yay!
I fucking hated like anything. It's like, no! I think Metro 2033 I tried to play once. I was like, I'll give this a go. Oh no, I have to play on a controller. No, uninstall. I literally haven't played that game. Installed it once, turned it on, and went, no, not a controller. Bye.
But yeah, the other stuff I would note for the port of that, one thing to note: if you played it on PS4, you can bring your save forward to the PS4 version of Control Ultimate. You can bring it forward to the PS4 version of Ultimate, but you can't bring it forward to the PS5 version of Ultimate. I was starting again from scratch, so it didn't really matter, but that's just a thing to bear in mind. It does do some cool stuff with the controller. It's the stuff I expected it to do, but it feels good. You've got the footsteps that you can feel in the controller going left, right, left, right, left, right as you're walking around.
Did you play straight after that? Because you were like, yeah, well, I've just got very into the whole PS4 haptic feedback controllers.
It was something on Xbox that I was playing, and it just had very like blunt force rumble, and I was like, "Where's my fancy rumble?
Fancy rumble?
Where's my good rumble?
Where's my several degrees of rumble?"
Exactly. I don't just want rumble on or off. I want my little tippy tappies where I can feel the left and right feet, and when I walk onto a different material, I feel a slightly different texture underfoot. It does the thing where when you're shooting a gun, it sort of the trigger clicks rather than pulling smoothly, which I really like. I know it's a gimmick, I know it's silly, I really like clicking the trigger.
Click.
Yeah, and when you do the sort of force push, it does like a really satisfying sort of like ripple of vibration through the controller. But I mean, otherwise, it's Control with all the DLC. What about you? What have you played this week?
I played some Moving Out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this is that.
It's an adorable little in the style of I guess like Overcooked, that sort of graphical style, where you are basically house movers and you're just trying to drag things out of a house and get them on the van, and you know there's some physics stuff, so you might knock over vases and things and break windows, but it's kind. I remember watching the videos for this and thinking, this looks adorable, and then I played it and I was like, this is boring as fuck.
I will say it's not a surprise that it looks like Overcooked because it's made by the same developer.
That's good. And I have explained it to people listening so they will understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't really have the same... Maybe it's different in 2-player.
Yeah.
But in single, I was just like, I don't really care. I did like that from the start, you have various characters, including a cat in a wheelchair. It's nice to see some disability representation. Just as an option right from the start, because that's very often not the case.
Yeah. When I was watching you play it, I was trying to remember what I thought it was a different game. that Nintendo released a game. It's called The Stretchers. It's a very similar, like you've got your two characters and you're picking things up and moving them, but it's people on a stretcher trying to move people to an ambulance instead. It looks very similar, and I thought that's what you were playing at first.
I think that's what I thought I was playing when I downloaded.
Yeah, The Stretchers, a more fun game in that, like it tries to do the same thing, but it is just more fun to play.
I can imagine it.
If you're fancying something of that nature, I'm up for playing some of The Stretchers at some point with you. I think it'll be what you were hoping this was.
Yeah, it's a lovely idea that it's not very interesting.
Yeah.
Certainly not in single player. Maybe it's more fun with two.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something. What about you? You played anything else?
I played a little bit of Double Kick Heroes, which is a game that is on Game Pass at the moment. It is a music rhythm game about, like, an end-of-the-world zombie apocalypse, and you are a band of metal musicians on the back of a car.
All of these, eh?
Yeah, trying to drive away from all of the chaos while, like, doing metal music to destroy the zombies.
Oh, when you were controlling the drums, I remember you playing.
Yeah. So the vague idea is that you're... the zombies and things that are coming at you will come at you from either the top or bottom of the road, and you've... on the default difficulty, you've got two buttons, one of which will fire projectiles on the top of the screen and one will fire on the bottom. You don't have to press specific buttons on the beat, it's just, here is the beat, but if you press one of those two buttons, you will fire on the beat, you will fire projectiles on that half of the screen. So you're having to keep an eye on what the beat is, and that sort of rhythm will change. But also keep half a glance on, do I need to be shooting the top or bottom of the screen right now? So it's a little bit of, like, patting your head, rubbing your stomach, like, trying to multitask what you're doing, but you're not having to keep track of, just, am I pressing the button that is up on the, further up on the controller or the one lower down? I like the idea of a music rhythm game that is more focused on the timing than having to get specific buttons on the timing. It's kind of what I enjoyed about Cadence of Hyrule, in that I could just think about playing the game and be like, the beat is something I'm sort of passively remembering to engage with. I'll say this, I'm a lot less willing to recommend this game than I was at the weekend when I played it, because the very first character you meet that's a spoof of a musician is a Marilyn Manson spoof, which...
That did not age well.
Yeah, that has aged very poorly in the past 4 days. Yeah, if any of you don't know, there's been a lot of allegations against Marilyn Manson that...
Attention grooming.
Yes, basically. So that's... I mean, I was enjoying it. It had a bit of the issue that a lot of games about rock or metal music have, where they get weirdly elitist.
Other genres of music.
Yeah, there's a discussion at some point about the fact that metal is the only music that can fight off the zombies, and oh, isn't it good we didn't form a synthwave band? Ha ha ha. It's weirdly elitist in that regard, but like the core mechanics are fun. It just I care about it less than I did at the weekend. What about you? What you played?
I played some Streets of Rage 4.
Tell me about that.
It's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
I wanted to play this for a while. And now that I'm not, just elbow deep in Deep Rock Galactic, I thought I'd give it a look. It's very pretty. The music's alright. I like the fact that I can spend a considerable amount of time beating up cops rather than being one.
Woo!
It's very fluid. It's pretty simple gameplay, which you would want from a Streets of Rage. Yeah. It just does all the modern things. I'm a bit sad that it seems to have taken over the role of the Streets of Rage remake project.
Yeah.
Which I think they had shut down just before they made this.
Yeah. I mean, this in many ways feels like a Streets of Rage remake in that it uses a lot of stuff from old Streets of Rage and just sort of modernizes it and brings it up to date. And...
Yeah, I remember you talking about on Podquisition a little while ago, and just thinking like, oh, that's probably why they shut down Streets of Rage remake then, because they were incorporating all of the characters, all of the levels, a bunch of custom stuff, and like extra music,
Yeah.
and basically putting all three of the original games in together with a
Yeah.
bunch of extra stuff. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, you shut
Yeah.
down a years-long fan project that everybody loved just so you could sell this. It's all right. You could have had the two together, because I guarantee the people who were making Streets of Rage remake probably would have really enjoyed this.
I mean,
But you've soured it now.
yeah, but also, like, if you're trying to make a thing and fans are also making that thing, that's an awkward situation to be in.
Copyright.
Yeah.
Intellectual property. And the problems therewith. Yeah, it's alright. What about you?
We played a thing together. We played a bit of Fogs, Phogs.
What if cat dog, but just dog?
Yeah, dog snake. Dog at both ends of snake.
With no leggies.
With no leggies.
We kept trying to hug bugs.
Yeah, so this
Wrap
is...
yourself around the bug.
It's a little co-op game where you play the two ends of a little dog snake, and you are trying to do little objectives and travel around, and you can sort of stretch out your dog snake and try and hug bugs, and
You can send one doggo to go ahead and bite a thing, and then release the other doggo and sort of
let them spring.
climb up things.
It's cute, and
Yeah.
I don't care about it.
No, didn't care.
No, it's a game I've seen at like conventions and events for years, and every time I look, I'm like, art style's adorable.
Mhm.
It's
got hats.
Yeah, it's got hats. Here's the problem with it, I think. It's got that feel of like a moveset that you would have in something like an Octodad, where it's like we're sort of scrambling to... We're controlling two halves of a slightly unwieldy creature.
Yeah, especially if someone like lets go of the stretch mechanic and
Yeah.
they just sort of ping into the other one.
I think what it lacks is doing enough with the fact that you're slightly unwieldy. Like, I was trying to think of what would be fun to do with this set of mechanics, and what if we were trying to like climb over a very thin tightrope or something, and then anytime one of us fell off, the other one's like, "It's fine, I'm biting on. Okay, you move forward, you bite. I'll move along."
Okay.
Like climbing that slope where we had to cling on to
Stop the wind blowing us.
yeah, stop the wind blowing us down, and one of us was like biting on, and the other one was climbing up to the next
Yeah.
bit. Like that was fun. That made use of the fact we were two people trying to fulfill roles on one creature.
Yeah.
I think
There
it
was
needed
a lot
more
of very
that.
basic, like, okay, we just move over here, we do this thing, we bite this thing, we move it over here.
Yeah, I think that one climbing up the slope was like, oh, this is what this game could be. It's not this enough of the time.
Yeah. There was a lot of sort of very basic just movement stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh, if you stretch yourselves out, you'll both be able to bite this thing, and then that'll open a door. It's like,
Yeah, I wanted to like it more than I did. We played through a level and we're like,
Yeah, I think we played through a world, maybe, a
Yeah,
stage.
I
Didn't care. I was like,
didn't have a bad time.
that was alright, but like, we were like, oh, should we have some dinner? Because it's getting late. Okay, had some dinner, and then just never thought of it again.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd forgotten about it until I saw it on the list.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What about you? You played anything else?
Just have a look. No, that is it for this week.
I played. I played one other thing. I started playing Destruction All Stars on PS5.
Yeah, Destruction All Stars.
Get your game on. See, I keep wanting to call it PlayStation All Stars, which was PlayStation's knockoff of Smash Bros.
Mhm.
So this is a game that was going to be a launch game for the PS5, and it got pushed back. But as a result, they made it free for PlayStation Plus subscribers rather than where it was previously going to be like a 40 quid game. It is an online multiplayer game where basically it's destruction derby, bash into other vehicles as much as you can to earn points.
Mhm.
You have different characters that all of their designs are really good. I like all the character designs, and they'll have a unique vehicle they can summon in if they get enough points, and that'll have special abilities. Like there's one I like playing as called Hannah, who her special vehicle has like a blade on the front you can summon, whereas she bashes into people, the car gets cut in half from a single bash while that ability is active.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really simple to control. I like how well they've simplified the mechanics. It is left and right triggers to brake, reverse, and drive forward. Left analog stick to turn, and right analog stick you either flick to the sides or forward to bash in that direction to do damage. So you either do a side swipe or a bash forward and do damage. And both of the sideways smash and the forward one are on cooldown timers. You can do them fairly regularly, but just so that you can't like mash it. I had a lot of fun with the game's main mode, where it's just bash people as much as you can to earn points.
Mm-hmm.
There's also gameplay outside of the vehicle, which I'm kind of fascinated by and curious whether...
Just
like,
barging into people in the street.
well, it's less that. Like, let's say the vehicle you're in is about to get destroyed. You could launch yourself up out of the roof, land on the vehicle that smashed into you, and then start doing a little minigame to take over their vehicle. So sometimes if your vehicle is on low health, it might be worth deliberately jumping out of it and hijacking someone else's much better health vehicle. There are collectible gems around the level that you can sort of do platforming to get, which will get you points towards summoning in your special unique vehicle. There's I like the sense of danger when you are out of a vehicle, because you can run pretty fast, but like if something hits you, you are fucked, and it's like, just fucking get out of the way.
Yeah.
All of the characters have this running animation that looks like they're fucking fleeing for their lives, and it's great. I'm not so into some of the other modes the game has, because like I like this mayhem mode, which is the default one. They've got another mode where you're on a circular arena and you only have a single life, and if you get knocked off of the arena or fall into a hole in the arena, you lose, and it's just last person standing. And while that's good in theory, the best way to win that is to not interact with other drivers because they might knock you off the platform. It's like I had the first win I had in that mode was standing up on one of the floating platforms where the vehicles were and just sort of waiting and not being part of the chaos, because I was like, if I'm not down there where the cars are, they can't knock me off. It feels very weird to have a game that is entirely about like collisions and destruction and bashing into each other and incentivizing avoiding that. It's why I like the default mode more, because if you die, you just respawn, you've not lost anything, the other person got a point for knocking you out, but like you can just keep going, and it rewards playing aggressively, which is nice. I mean, for a game that is free, included for free with a PlayStation Plus subscription, I would never have paid 40 quid for this. If I feel kind of like I do about Deep Rock Galactic. Never would have bought it full price, but having it in a subscription, I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. It is fun. If anyone listening can work out how to turn voice chat in that game off as default, so I don't have to hear 9-year-olds screaming coming out of my PS5 controller, that'd be good.
Ew.
I know I can manually turn it off, but it wants me to do so every single match, and I want to find some way to not have to every match press the PlayStation button, press square to mute the chat, press the thing on my controller to mute myself. Like, let me pick defaults for whether I interact with voice chat.
For all the other things that you can set as default on that system.
Yeah. I think that's everything I've played. Oh, Ace Combat 7, I like the flying. I don't like the fact that the story's about this cool female pilot, but like in the first several missions, you don't actually get to play as her. I'm like, stop making me play as these generic men. Let me play as her. She seemed cool. That's all I have to say about Ace Combat 7. Yeah, I think that's everything I've played this week.
Well then.
Time for this. Do you find your life full of constant kitty intrusions?
I do. Get off. No.
Do you find yourself unable to so much as open a packet of crisps without the cat sniffing around?
They assume Rustly Packet means them.
There's got to be a better way, right?
Right. Shrugs in black and white.
Well, why not try Not for Cats Mart?
Not for Cats Mart, tell me more.
All of the products you love sold in fabric packaging that won't rustle.
That's genius.
If you shop with us, none of your products will sound like they might possibly be for kitty cats.
I was secretly 6 kitties in a trench coat. Now I've revealed your secret. Fabric packaging! Oh, Doctor, do you please tell me, can you help my pet?
Maybe. What's wrong?
I don't know, they've just been looking really sickly recently.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know, they just feel like they're getting more and more ill, and they're less lively. bits keep dropping off.
Well, I imagine that's probably some kind of horrible blood-sucking parasite.
I have noticed just here on the tummy there is this strange blue mark.
Oh yeah, what is that? Can we get a magnifying glass on that and have a closer look at it?
There you go, Doctor.
Yes, that blue, whatever it is, definitely does look like an aggressive parasite.
Is there anything you think you can do?
Indeed. This isn't going to be solved until we can get that blood-sucking Tory parasite off of you.
Well, thank you, Doctor. Come on, Britain, come on! So, what have you put in your eyes?
What have I put in my eyes this week?
Interesting.
I know, I need to... And we watched a film together. Should we talk about Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah.
I want to be careful how much I say about this.
Understandably.
Yeah. So Sorry to Bother You is a film about someone who ends up working in a call centre, and is trying to rise up through the ranks of this call centre to work with the big mythical big money clients.
And he's having trouble with that.
Yeah, he is trying to work out how to get people to engage well with him.
Buy anything?
Yeah, to actually buy anything. It has some very good visual effects that the film does.
Mhm.
Like one very early one that I don't think spoilery to talk about is when he's doing
His first few calls.
His desk from his sort of call centre drops down into the room of the person he's calling, and he's sort of sat with his desk opposite, say, someone's kitchen table.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's an amazing bit of cinematography.
Yeah, there's a few other things later in the film that do really nice visual stuff.
There's some great angled shots. There's some great sort of setups for scenes.
Some good transformative moments between scenes.
Yep, I know which bit you mean.
Yeah. I think that there is a lot of really smart discussion around things like not crossing the picket line in corporate trying to do action against corporations.
Yep.
There is a lot of good critique of the kind of things that a black person might feel the need to do to succeed in something like call center work.
Masking.
Masking, code switching.
Code switching.
Yeah, there's critiques of big corporations that are quite interesting and what people are willing to do.
The terms of modern slavery.
Yep. There was some stuff that felt very Elon Musk wants to put you as an indentured servant on Mars stuff going on.
Yes.
The things that someone would be willing to do to feel like they matter and that they're important.
Yes.
And the personal lines they might cross to get that.
Yeah.
And then there's that thing that happens in the film that we're not going to talk. Yeah. Just, this film isn't what I thought it was.
It's a searing indictment of capitalism and corporate structure.
It is that. It is definitely that.
Also, the main character is called Cassius Green, or just Cash Green.
Yeah. This is a fantastic film.
Yeah, loved it.
It's a
There are definitely some bits where we were both sitting on the sofa going, "Oh fucking hell!"
Yeah, I will put it this way: there was a point in that film where I definitely thought I knew how they were going to get to the end point, and they got there a very different way.
I was thinking about that, the performance scene.
Yes,
Not the one right at the end, the other one. And I was just like, "Oh fucking hell!" That's happening on screen right now.
Yeah. It's a great film.
It's a great film. I would recommend it to anyone.
I would just say the you don't want to know anything more about it.
Don't read anything about it. Don't
Yeah.
listen to anyone talking about it.
Yeah, we've said as much as I think you should know, and I think to say any more would lessen your enjoyment. Just, it's on Netflix in the UK now.
Yes.
Just watch it.
Yeah, I think I had Austin Yorsky recommending it on a really old word funk before while that was still a thing, giving you some idea how long ago that was. And I've wanted to see it for a while, and it just turned up on UK Netflix. I was like, you have to watch that. And I'm very glad we did.
Yeah, that was a very good use of a couple of hours.
Yeah, it's like an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Check it out.
No, Nice.
What else? Have you watched anything else?
We finished watching Sweet Home.
We did.
Which is that Korean horror set in a tower block in the post-apocalypse.
That goes some places, huh?
Yeah. So we finished the series, and I desperately want more of it.
Mm-hmm. It's been left open-ended.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get any more Imagine Dragons playing in that final episode.
Right.
I thought we were going to get one last Imagine Dragons.
One last Imagine Dragons.
Yeah. I think they posed some real good, difficult moral quandaries for the people in that building.
Mm-hmm.
They set up a very believable, very understandable, this is something that would cause division for this group of people.
Mm-hmm.
I've really enjoyed a lot of the performances.
We got, a whole new antagonist.
Yeah, we did.
I'm curious to know how much more of that, because it's from a webcomic, right?
Yes.
How much more of that is there? Don't want to watch it, don't want to read it, because, don't want to spoil the rest of the series, but,
Indeed. I thought those last couple of episodes had a lot of very good acting, and I'm glad that they didn't pull their punches in terms of letting consequences get a bit more dire.
Yes.
Those last few episodes really were very...
She has gone
They're
bad.
very, very intense. They
Yes.
didn't stop.
Ew.
But yeah, I really highly recommend Sweet Home. I found I enjoyed the sort of humorous elements of it, even if some of them maybe weren't intended to be. I don't know how much was intentional and how much was
Hard to say, really.
was not.
That's the thing with, horror comedy. Am I supposed to be laughing at this because I think that's funny?
Yeah. It's real good. Go watch it. It's good.
Fascinating characters.
Yeah.
Would like to see more of that. Would like to see more of the monster design.
Yes. That final monster design that happens, the sort of partial transformation monster design was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? You watched anything else?
I've watched hours of Crit Crab videos on YouTube.
You've been watching people reading Reddit threads about D&D experiences.
About horrible D&D experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very, very affirming.
Yeah.
I very often sit there going, I'm an awful DM. I'm not very good at coming up with things. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Well, I haven't tried to force anyone into sexual acts.
Yes. Every 6 months or so, I'll fall down a rabbit hole for a week or two of just D&D stories read by people on YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of terrible stories out there.
Yes, horrifying people doing horrifying things, usually involving a lack of communication or a lack of consent in D&D.
Yeah. Or just players completely ignoring all advice their DM tries to give them and then getting mad at their DM for consequences happening.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you have consequences for my reckless action?
How dare you make me play by the rules of the game that we've agreed to play?
Yeah, a lot of those stories just boil down to a lack of respect between players and other players, or between DM and player. It's basically just the DM player experience should be one built on trust, where you don't force things on the other sides and sort of have a bit of give and take of trust, and that falls down a lot, apparently. Are you looking for some Crit Crab videos?
No, I'm just looking through the rest of the things that I watched recently, so that I can talk about things I've watched.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
Do you have anything else?
Not really. It's been a very work-heavy week this week.
You've been working real hard. I watched a couple of videos by Studson Studio on YouTube. They do, kit bashing.
Ooh.
So, basically, hey, I went to the dollar store and I bought, a bunch of toys, and now I'm going to make this really cool, thing from Final Fantasy VII. Just hey, here's one of the robots from that I made out of, a couple of trains, a robot, and a toy dog. And, just a few, little leftover kit pieces from others. Just hey, they don't make a model of this. Or if they do, it's phenomenally expensive. So I spent, $3 and some paint. And obviously having the equipment to start, I guess. But, once you've got into that hobby, I guess it gets a lot easier to keep doing it. because you've got bits and pieces already. Also watched a bunch of videos by Look Mum No Computer, including one of going around this huge museum of synthesizers, just like hundreds, this basically a warehouse full of old synths, just like that's fascinating. And trying to turn a Commodore 64 into a 6-channel synth with really cool knob interfaces. I don't know if anyone else would be interested in that, but I was fascinated. Well then,
Time for this.
oh, I've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you like writing things?
I do an awful lot of it.
You do an awful lot of writing?
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
Are you concerned that, your computer might just break down and then just be like, oh no, that's my documents, that's all gone?
I mean, pretty constantly, yeah.
What if instead of being on your computer, they were in the cloud?
Oh, so I can just, if my computer breaks, I can get them on a different device and they're over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, check out Online Docs.
Oh,
They've got like a text editing thing.
yeah,
They've
a
got a
word
spreadsheety
processing
thing.
thing.
Word
yeah.
processing, that's the word. They've got some spreadsheetings. There's like a PowerPoint thing.
Oh,
There's all the different things you could possibly want.
yeah.
All available online from Online Docs.
Ah,
Yeah, so you could. The only risk is sometimes you might not be able to log in because their servers go down.
That is a problem right there.
Nah, it's fine.
It's not going to be great if I need to do work and it's just like, no.
No, look, it's right here in the copy. It's like, nah, it's fine. See, nah.
Oh, it does
it's
say,
fine.
nah, it's fine.
See?
They put a lot of A's in the middle. They really drew it out.
Exactly, yeah.
Nah,
They were
it's
trying to-
fine.
Nah, it's fine. I think they really captured what they were trying to go with there.
could I, just have backups in more than have an offline one and an online one?
I'm told I have to boop you on the snoot.
Oh.
No.
Oh,
Get
okay.
a boopity snoot.
Okay, I'll keep them online only with no
That's
offline
right,
backups.
online only. No online.
No
Only
offline.
Online Docs. And enter the code Q&PS 153,
Oh.
I think. And you could get access to Online Docs, but you get a extra storage for the first year. And of that, it's I don't know. There's just like a cough.
Oh
there.
yeah, it sort of looks like when they wrote a swear word in a comic book. It's sort of jumbled. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's onlinedocs.lol.net, and enter the code Q&PS153.
Oh.
Inside the boardroom of Electronic Active Softworks.
Hi. So, I've been trying to keep on top of what the internet's talking about in terms of, video games.
Yeah.
Because, we gotta work out how we're gonna make money.
Yeah, sure. I
And-
mean, I like money.
Yeah, exactly. And, I saw something about stocks this week.
Ah, yeah, the whole stock market.
Yeah. So, my understanding is that, a bunch of people made the price of that game store's stock go up, basically despite, short-selling hedge fund managers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
It was a whole inside job just to fuck over other people in the same industry, right?
Yeah. But, I've been thinking.
Yeah.
We own a lot of stock in Electronic Arts Softworks.
I mean, between us, we own most of the company, right?
Exactly. So, our stock is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
What if it was worth a lot more money?
I like money.
So I've got a theory. I'm
Sure.
gonna make an account on that website that everyone's using to do their stock trading tips and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it totally not Electronic Active Softworks Executive for 2069.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. And I'm gonna go on there and go hey, I heard a rumor they're doing that bad, evil short-selling thing to Electronic Active Softworks. And you should totally all go buy their stock and raise its price to fuck over the people in charge, the billionaires.
Yeah. That'll show them.
Exactly. And I think, if you set up an account too and you say, yeah, I heard that too, we might be able to get people to buy a bunch of stock so we can sell ours and make profit.
So we short our own stock, right?
Oh, no, we don't actually short it. We just make a rumor that it's being shorted.
Right.
We just let them raise the price of our stock before we sell it.
Nice.
We just tell them Tell them that the mean hedge funds are coming for us now. You wouldn't want your favorite video games to stop being made. Save us by putting money into the company.
Yeah, we could list how about this? Like a week before we go ahead and do this, we'll put out a whole bunch of leaks about the upcoming games that we've got in the works. All the big franchises, so people are really invested in our company.
Exactly.
And then we'll be like, oh, that's all in jeopardy if you don't.
Exactly.
You are a fucking genius.
I know.
So, what have you listened to?
I've not listened to a lot this week. Again, it's been a very work-heavy week. I've been doing a lot of work stuff that hasn't really given me listening time.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to a track called Heterosexuality is a Construct by Onsind. It's a sort of acoustic guitar punk track about someone coming to accept that as much as identifying as straight is simple and easy, they need to kind of face the fact that they sometimes colour outside the lines a little bit in that regard, and that sexuality doesn't always fit in a nice little box.
Yep.
And sort of addressing the fact that, hey, in the past, the singer's perspective is hey, I was a bit homophobic in the past. A lot of that's probably because I wasn't particularly comfortable about the fact that I wanted to fit in the heterosexual box and wasn't fitting in it terribly well, and that's not fun.
Ew.
Yeah, interesting little track that.
Mm-hmm.
I also listened to a track called "Kill the Boy Band" by She, Her, Hers. Is a sort of punk track from a trans woman about being just really bored of punk shows being full of boring cis straight able-bodied white dudes and singing lyrics that sound anti-establishment but say nothing specific.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good track. I recommend it as well as the album it came from. What about you? What have you listened to?
So about 20 years ago,
This is what we've listened to this week, not 20 years ago.
I got sent, I had this friend who had the internet, TM.
Did
you have that friend?
Yes, the friend with the internet, yes.
Just randomly turn up with CDs and go, I found this, I want the CD back when you're done, it's a rewritable disc. Okay. And it would just have, here's, some music, and maybe here's a film, and here's just a array of porn that just gives me a real insight into my friend. And here's a bunch of, public domain books and stuff. In amongst all that was a couple of music tracks that had been made by taking presidential speeches of George H.W. Bush, Clinton, and George Bush, and just sort of jammed together in these weird little electro tracks. The band was called Tone Deaf and the Bots, or just The Bots. And while trying to find speeches or public domain speeches to put samples into tunes that I'm making,
yeah,
couldn't find anything appropriate. I found a link to all of the Tone Deaf and the Bot stuff.
Ha!
So, Fuzzy Math, Bushwhacking, Bushwhacking 2, and Rock the House were the 4 main tracks. You can find them on thebots.net. You might have trouble watching that. It's a Flash website. And it's not been updated. The page I did manage to get to load was... Oh, it's so early internet. It's so 20 years ago, the internet. In the weirdest way. Yeah, so it was a fun little way to go back and listen to. There it is.
Oh, that's...
Right?
Yeah, that's early internet, huh?
That's really not designed to be seen at a resolution that high, huh? Yeah, it's an interesting little set of 4 songs, just making ex-former presidents say terrible things about stuff. Although the H.W. Bush one has a bunch of I recommend everyone starts doing drugs stuff towards the end. That is kind of would have been very funny to me 20 years ago, and now I'm I don't recommend that anymore.
No.
Personal choice, by all means. I'm not going to force people to do it.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I mean,
put drugs in the water supply. Everyone will love each other.
We'll sort all the problems out by taking a bale of weed, setting fire to it, and feeding it through the air conditioning at the UN.
Yeah, there is a point where that would have been seemed like a very viable plan.
Yeah, let's bring peace to everyone by getting the highest balls.
By drugging them without their consent.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Don't do that. It's a
Don't do that.
very scary, unpleasant experience if you don't know that there's drugs in you.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I grew up. But yeah, it was weird just like seeing like, oh my god, the bots, really? And then just finding all those tracks and having a listen. Apparently also there is a whole archive of like presidential speeches that are public domain if you want to use them in tracks. So, you know, I'm no Swede Mason, but I might give it a try at some point. What about you? Have you listened to anything else?
That's it for me, really.
Well then.
Time for this.
Now that we've left the EU and food is becoming an issue, it's time to plant veg to feed everyone in community gardens. You that, planting in the local community garden. This is a beautiful garden that you have produced.
Yes, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it.
It's nice to see you digging for victory.
Indeed, I've got all these vegetables growing. I will be able to somewhat sidestep the terrifying reality of what's going on here.
Indeed, lots of red root vegetables. I see that you are providing for the community.
Yes. Distribute by people's needs. Make sure everyone's got what they need.
I've noticed you have a very large compost heap over here that you are using to spread out over the general area.
Yes. Only the finest fuel for this community garden.
Yes, is that an old school tie that appears to be growing from around that carrot?
No, I'm definitely not pushing that into the pile. No.
There appears to be some bones there.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Right, and I think that's a gold tie clip around that parsnip.
No, definitely not. But by sheer coincidence, have you heard that our local Tory MP recently vanished? What a strange story that.
Thank you for your composting tips. This will be most fascinating. So, if you are having trouble getting your vegetables to grow, well, perhaps you could go to the source of all this manure, and they will in turn be used to make whole new crops. Wonderful.
I mean, it's the only way we're going to get them to be part of feeding poor people.
Compost the Tories, compost the Tories. Hi, I'm fabulously wealthy celebrity. How about buying one of my fancy candles?
Sure, what kind of scents do they come in?
They all smell of me! Absolute luxury. Why not try Under Armour Aroma?
I'm not sure why I would.
The scent of belly button recess.
That's probably going to be a little bit gross.
Underboob dampness.
Yeah, that's never fun.
Sunny Day Crack Sap.
See, I was almost with you when you said sunny day, but no thank you.
Or Minge Magic.
Is that the one I heard explodes?
Morning, some fancy candles explode.
No, it's not.
Aha!
Different brand. These are fancy candles. Fancy.
Definitely won't. Okay. As long as you won't explode, sure, I'll make my house smell of your minge.
Yay! Money. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors. Yeah.
All right, Harry. All right, Barry. How you doing? I'm not too bad, mate. Not too bad. You been up to much? You know, same old yourself. Oh, health up and down. I'll be honest.
As it be.
Yeah.
I was having some conversations with people. I've sort of seen about a thing this week. Yeah. I know several people who over the years have been on antidepressants.
Been on them myself, mate. Yeah.
Exactly. If you do not produce your own neurotransmitters, store bought is fine.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people who start on antidepressants and get a bit disheartened at first because the first one they try might not work out so well.
Yeah, and you've got to go, they put you up on higher dose. It's like, we're still not doing anything, or if anything, it's making it worse in some cases.
And one thing that I think is not, talked about enough about antidepressants is the fact that there are lots of different types of them that work in lots of different ways and have different ways of reaching that end goal.
Oh, indeed. I mean, especially if you happen to live in the UK, there is this sort of very much we're going to put you on fluoxetine, and that's just going to be, we're going to increase that dose, regardless of, what your major problems are.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is every one of them has different potential side effects, different ways that they may or may not help, and you know, for a lot of people, they get disheartened when, you know, we kept knocking up the thing and it's not helping. What you may need to do is talk to your doctor about, like, hey, this one is just not working for me. Any side effects I'm having are not working for me, or it's not helping. Can we try a different type?
Absolutely.
Because there are different types that do things in different ways. And
and that isn't, you know, that's still progress. Like,
Yeah.
I know, you know, it can feel like, oh, well, you know, we're back to square one. But no, I mean, you have completely ruled that thing out as something that works for you. And, you know, everyone's got different chemistry and different, you know, trying to, you know, get themselves to a different equilibrium.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes it does require a different medication or a different family of medications. even.
Don't feel like because one didn't work that it's, you know, that you're going back to square one, or that you've failed in some way, or that it's not worth trying. Because, you know, it might be the first, it might be the fourth. You know, you'll probably find one eventually that's the one that's going to help.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wish luck, mate.
Yeah, first your luck.
I mean, I know it's early afternoon, but yeah, I think might go for a nap, mate.
I mean, it's half tempting.
So, Laura, where can we find you on the internet, darling?
Laura K. Buzz in all the places: Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Patreon. That's the one that pays the bills. Every Friday on YouTube, I put up episodes of Accessibility. It's a show about accessibility and representation in the games industry. This week's about ADHD. It's got a special guest, someone who wears a top hat and is on the Podquisition podcast. Ooh, I wonder who that could be. I Twitch stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm currently learning to speedrun Pokemon. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, books. Uncomfortable Labels, that's out now. You know about that already. It's the Autistic Trans book. We've got to talk about the book that came out this week. By the time you hear this, it will be out.
Oh, heck, that book over there?
Yeah, Things I Learned from Mario's Butt.
Oh, heck.
If you're listening now, you can buy that book. It's a book of video game character butt reviews with a bunch of art in it. And it's got butts. It's got a lot of butts and people talking about those butts. So you should
very good.
You should get that. It's out now.
I got that book.
Yeah, I'd love it if people checked it out. I'm real proud of that. It's a very good book, if I do say so myself. There's also Gender Euphoria, which is coming out on June 10th, 2021. Wow. It's just a bunch of non-cis people telling their positive gender-affirming stories. It's like almost done. It's going to the printers soon. I'm real excited.
Oh, shit.
Also, I guested on a bunch of stuff this week. By the time you hear this, if you check out Friday's Kinda Funny Games Daily, I guested on that this week. You can find that at Kinda Funny Games on YouTube. I was on IGN's podcast Beyond this week, so if you look up the most recent episode of that, I guessed on that. I will be on the Comedy Button when it comes up next week, so everyone listen to the next episode of the Comedy Button, which I'm going to be on. And then there's the podcast that I normally do. So there's Pixel Squirt, it's about video game character pornography. There's Dice Funk, it's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. We do every season's its own story. I'm on seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I do a podcast with you that isn't this one.
That's true. You're on Polyamory.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It's a D&D 5th edition real play podcast with questionable morals, and my goodness, I'm trying to write the finale. I should have added that to things I watched this week. How to write an ending. So yeah, hopefully that, go enjoy that. It's on my SoundCloud, it's on my YouTube as well. It's got us and Nick Flair and that Phoenix 2 Hill. I've got a Patreon, that's the one that pays my bills. For as little as $1 a month, you can help me justify a 76-hour work week. Please. Thanks. I have made some decisions recently, which means that I could really use the money. I Twitch, twitch.tv/Janiac. I do that on Thursdays around 7:30 in the evening. I'm on Twitter, YouTube, I write reviews for things on stonemonkeyradio.blog. I've got a Redbubble where I sell t-shirts. We've got a Facebook group. I've got a SoundCloud where you might be listening to this now. But I've also got a SoundCloud for my music that I make. That's under the name Bedroom Programmer. You can find all of my links at streamerlinks.com/Janiac. That's Janiac. Laura, sing us out, please, darling.
Until next time, be a stranger.
Yay!
In the legends of the queer and pleasant strangers.
Ooh, get you with your prophecy.
That is a fucking prophecy.
Oh, you've been prophesized, love. Would you believe it? Prophesized again.
Hope some of that makes it in.
We'll just stick it after the credits. The fuck?
75 quid a candle, those. 75 quid to have Gwyneth Paltrow's pussy smell in your house and maybe explode.
I will come round and aim a recently dampened fingers around your living room. That'll help.
Just a little dab on the cushions. Just, there we go.
I'll tell you what. I'll just dab just along your top lip line. Then you'll be able to smell it everywhere. How's that?